let's get into the DraftKings portion of tonight's podcast, and then we're going to come back and hit some betting picks. Talk through what we like there. All right, top of the market, Mr. DJ, Mr. 30 under, 11.5, all the way down to at $9,000 on DraftKings. Scotty Scheffler, who I had at 55-1, and I thought May had a chance on Sunday, but no. I lost by like 15 shots. Pat, 3 GPP plays, a cash play, and a fade. I'll let you start tonight. I normally start at the top. I'll let you go tonight.
Well, I'm happy with that. All right, so I am going to start with Mr. Justin Thomas at 10-8. Going back on the train with him, he was around 8% owned last week in tournaments, which I think it turned out where if you played him, it wasn't that great anyway. But I just think that Justin Thomas this is a good course for him. He's definitely checking all the boxes. I mean, he's second in ball striking, second in approach. He's third in par 4 scoring. Obviously, we know he can get the ball. He kind of fits that combo you mentioned of a little bit of accuracy but distance. I mean, he's 14th in the field in driving distance, top 30 in fairways gained. So, I mean, he can hit the fairways. I mean, I just think JT, and I hope I get him at lower ownership. Now, it's going to be not as spread out as it was last week, obviously, in a bigger full field event. But I don't know. We'll see in where we are as far as these guys, with Webb right there. Rory is definitely going to be low owned. But I love JT this week. I think he's a good play. So I will play him first at 10-8. I also like Colin Morikawa. You mentioned him earlier at 9,500. I think he is a good play. A guy that's just, well, obviously he won on a course that you just correlated to this one, which is TPC Harding Park.
Yeah.
And, he's coming off of a bad week. I'm hoping I get, again, a little bit lower ownership on Colin Morikawa. Let's see where he was last week. He's like 15% owned, so it wasn't that bad. I think it'll be maybe around that range again this week with the shorter field, but I still like some Morikawa at 9,500, checking the box in ball striking, approach, also that par 4 scoring number, and he's second in the field in driving accuracy, so I do like that as well. And then Scotty Scheffler, he's just so hot. I mean, his form is just incredible right now. He's scoring. He's doing everything you need to do. You're getting him at 9,000. I mean, I cannot not play Scheffler in a field where he's, he's just still competing with all these guys, playing extremely well. I don't know. We'll see what happens with his caddy. His caddy went down last week on Sunday. Yeah. I'm assuming he's okay. But I like Scheffler at 9,000. Another guy checking a lot of boxes, driving distances. I mean, he's 15th in the field. He's 22nd in par 4 scoring. So I like Scheffler at 9,000. My cash play, which I'm not going to really do a whole lot of cash this week. So you could probably, if you want to just take this as a GPP as well, is Xander Schauffele at 9,900. I like him this week. Also, another guy that checks some boxes. He is in good form. So I like some Xander this week. My fade is going to be Rory again. We're just not seeing anything good out of Rory. No good finishes. His driving is not very good right now. I mean, that's really what's killing him. And he might just have to pull the driver out of the bag because it's just not very good. I mean, he's 53rd in the field in driving accuracy. He's 65th in that par 4 scoring from 450 to 500 yards. If you watched him, which I did a lot because I watched some of that morning, because that's what he was in the group with Tiger both days on Saturday and Sunday. If you were watching the featured group, and he did not look good at all. He was all over the freaking place. And I don't know how much he's into it right now. I almost feel like he's just kind of ready for a little bit of a break and then the US Open and that. So we'll see. Probably gonna. I mean, if you want to play him from an ownership standpoint, I could see that because he might be one of the lower. You might be getting Rory as low owned as he's ever been this week, but I'm still going to fade him. I don't like him. So there you go.
Yeah, it's tough. I think Rory and my fade, Bryson. I was on Bryson last week and he burned me, so here I am getting off of him. But when you get into it, obviously the distance is there. Strokes getting off the tee, but dang man, like his irons are just not good. And and it is frustrating as all get out to watch his irons be so bad. And they've been inconsistent. I mean, since the restart, he's lost strokes on approach, pretty regularly since he won the Rocket Mortgage. He won the Rocket Mortgage losing strokes gained approach, but he gained 8 on the putting green. But since the Rocket, he's only gained strokes with his irons in one event, and that's the PGA. So it's not been good for him and not consistent. So I think if there's a name to fade in this top kind of range, it's I'll go with that. But I like a lot of guys here. Like I could easily every guy in the 9K range, honestly, other than to me the Bryson and Rory for the reasons we just mentioned. And then, and I know I said this last week at the Northern Trust that I said was such a bomber's course, and he still finished 6th. And Webb is definitely immune to a bomber's course. He can still go play. I still think if I had to gamble on it, I would fade him. But there's really not anybody in this 9K range I think is just a terrible play. So if you feel convicted on him, on them, you do that. So my cash play and probably my favorite GPP play is Xander, as you mentioned. Love the ball striking ability. Love the irons right now, the form. This is his time of year. He thrives in this FedEx Cup limited field stuff. He loves it. He soaks it up. So I think Xander is a play. I love Morikawa as well. Like I said, PGA Championship, this just seems to fit Morikawa really well. It seems to feel a little bit like Harding Park in terms of how it's laid out, in terms of difficulty, needing to be long and accurate. And then I'm going to go back to Berger. I'm just going to eat all the chalk, I guess, up here, but it's going to be hard not to in this range. But the way Daniel Berger's striking the ball right now is incredible. And I'll just keep going back until it burns to the ground. But I've rode him since the restart, and I'm not getting off right now. And that's kind of those guys are all in that little 9K range, and you don't really see me going up top a whole lot. I think if I were to go up top, I might go up there to Rahm, but I like those guys. I like those names in that range the most. So that's where I'm going to go.
I hear you. I mean, all these guys, I agree. I mean, it's hard to necessarily zero in and fade.
Very hard to fade.
But I also don't mind eating it. If there is chalk up here, which there is, I don't mind eating it either, and then just finding a differentiator somewhere else. I mean,
now here's a name though that I do want to talk about before we move on. At 9,200, Jason Day, who everyone was on last week in the Northern Trust. He was one of the more popular plays at the Northern Trust. He was owned around 21%. He lost 6.5 strokes with his irons in the 2 rounds at the Northern Trust. Lost 2 strokes putting, which sent him trunk slamming. Now, we have not seen that kind of a poor iron performance since the BMW last year at a different golf course, but that was the last time we saw it. Before that, the irons were very solid. The off the tee game has remained solid. His prowess around the greens and on the greens has been solid. Burning that many people, at 9,200 in a no-cut event, it's that one I could see. Like if he ends up being projected as one of the lower players in this range, that may be a really interesting move late on Wednesday to make in terms of tournament plays. So
I could see him being the pop the cork on the fantasy golf sommelier. We'll see.
I could see him being a pivot point play from somebody popular.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Right there around him. All right, 8K and above range. He killed me last week a lot like Jason Day. He killed 30% on average. 30% had Tony Finau last week and watched him just not putt,
including me.
It was his worst putting performance since the Arnold Palmer, worst putting performance by a long shot since the restart came back. He still hit the ball well. He still hit the ball just fine. But he just didn't make a putt. I am willing to get back on Tony Finau after that. When someone owned 30, as chalky as 30%, goes home early, but then he checks all these other boxes right now, and the form is definitely there. Like, I am very willing to reinvest in this no-cut event and believe that he figures it back out on the putting green and it turns around. I'm going to go back on Tony Finau. I love him here. And then you know where I'm going next, and it's Hideki. He continues to just top 30, top 20, and he scores along the way. Like, the ball striking is there. I don't know. His better putting surfaces of late have been bent and, bent grass over Bermuda. He's always been a little better on bent. He's just been consistent. Like, he's striking the ball. Now, and I would roll with him in cash. And then my fade is going to be Tiger. Back-to-back events. He hasn't shown us anything since the restart. I don't really see a lot right now. No, I don't see it. So I'm out on Tiger. That's incredible analysis, I know, but I'm not there. So that's it.
Well, interesting. Okay, well, since that's where you stopped, then I'll go ahead and start with one of my GPP plays, and that is Tiger Woods. And this is the first time we are getting him playing back-to-back events since the restart, which I actually kind of like. I think this is a good spot for him playing back-to-back. And
why? That doesn't make any sense.
Because for one, I like what I saw out of him Sunday. He played extremely well on Sunday. Last week. Now, he's not shooting 10 under like freaking DJ was and whatever else, but I still like what I saw. I think he's a type player that needs to play actually more. I don't think, he's necessarily needs to just skip like 3 events in a row.
Did you time warp back to 2002? No, he doesn't. He needs to keep this thing going as long as he can. And the way he does that is rest and not overcook it. He's got
that's fine. That's fine. But we're probably going to get low ownership again on Tiger. He's still striking the ball well. I think this is a good course for him. I'm all in on Tiger this week at 8,600. I think it's a great price. I think you're gonna get low ownership on him. He putts well on bent grass greens. He loves the fast undulation. We've seen it at the Masters and whatever else. So I don't see why you wouldn't play Tiger. I might have 100% Tiger this week.
By the way, the putter has not been good. I just now kind of started looking at that. The flat stick has been what's holding him back pretty consistently.
But we know can change at any time too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you watched him, I watched him a lot last week. He hit some incredible iron shots, some good drivers. He felt like he was in control of his game. And you're right, he missed some putts, but that can come at any time. And, if we're going to keep getting them at low ownership, which we are, there's no like public money anymore. I don't want to hear any public money.
No, he's not going to be high owned. He's not going to be high owned.
So, I mean, I'll take him at 86. It's not like he didn't just, win a couple tournaments last year. I mean, the guy's still, playing well amongst, even in strong fields. I mean, he hasn't had the finishes yet. But that's fine. I'm okay with that. So I will play him in GPPs, which I think, if anything, when you get him in 4 rounds in a no-cut event at low ownership, why not play him? I mean, I'm a big fan of Tiger at 8,600. I like him. I'm also a big fan of Victor Hovland at 8,100. He's another guy.
I do like Hovland.
I think that for one is, I think, a little bit too cheap for him. He definitely checks a ton of boxes. He's
when you think about long and accurate, like that's perfect for Vic Young Hove.
So
he's going to be chalk, but I like it. I
think he will be, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, you got Casey right there. Who knows? But I like Hovland.
Victor Hovland.
Cash play is Harris English because. Why the hell not?
Is he not an ATM right now? Like, the dude is just that bulldog, man. He has turned it on. His form is incredible.
It's so good, and he's hitting the ball extremely well. I mean, he really is. So Harris English is my cash play. My fade, because I'm just absolutely effing done with him, is Patrick Cantlay at 89.
I told you that last week. Last week, you're like, I'm going on Cantlay. I'm like, well, all right. It is frustrating, man, because that dude is so talented, and it's going to come. It's coming right back. We need to do a "What's Wrong With" segment on Patrick Cantlay. I don't know. He needs a Mai Tai or something. He just something's.
But we haven't
clicking.
seen anything. I mean, you go back to the Memorial T32, T35 at WGC St. Jude, which is a short event, so that's basically middle of the pack. 43rd at the PGA. He barely made the cut, by the way, and then he misses the cut last week. I mean, he just doesn't have it there. And if you want to talk about form going into these playoff events, he's a guy that's. I mean, I don't know what his FedEx Cup standings points
are. 37th right now.
Yeah,
he's 37th, so he's got to have a decent week.
It's just not there for him right now. So, and then you're going to pay $8,900 for him. I'd rather play. I mean, I'd rather play Reed or go to Finau, like you just said.
Man, I tell you what, though, like when you look at it, when you look at his projections, like already, he's projected to be like sub 10%, and he's such a good player. He's a world-class player. We know that. We just haven't seen it. We just haven't seen it since the restart. But then you look at his putting splits over his career. He is like 5 times better on bent grass than his next best surface, which is POA.
He is good on bent.
Very good on bent grass. And then like look at last week at the Northern Trust. He wasn't terrible at anything except for putting. He was terrible at putting, but that's kind of his MO. He's not a great putter. He was just like flat with everything else. He was just basically neutral, wasn't gaining strokes, wasn't losing strokes on the field with everything else. And what we know about Patrick Cantlay is usually off the tee and approach throughout, since he kind of got back on tour, he has just been so solid off the tee and with his irons. So at any moment, if that comes back, I don't know, it kind of feels like Jason Day. Like, think about the caliber of player, if you can get him sub 10% in a no-cut event where you got to have a lot of ownership leverage with tournaments like this in DFS, it's an interesting play. It honestly, in events like this, it's almost like I feel like there's no point in us making picks on a Monday night. I almost just feel like that's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
and I hate that that's the case. But
the thing that just popped into my mind though is because I'm looking down the list of all the 8K guys, and when I was doing my research, you could make lineups of all 8K guys.
You can do that every week, right, Pat?
I'm just saying you could do it, and I feel like you could have a really good chance to win a GPP with that this week.
Yeah, who knows? Like me and you hadn't won a GPP in a minute, so it ain't. I don't know, but all I know is like in events like this, it just feels like you wait until where ownership comes, because I'm not playing anything that's not a large GPP this week because I just don't. I'm going to embrace the variability and the 70 players, and try to make a unique lineup that's got a lot of guys with upside that pop, but I can get some leverage on. So I don't know. I feel like guys like Cantlay, guys like Jason Day are close. And if you can get them low owned in a no cut event where you need a lot of leverage in DFS, it's worth a shot. But again, why the crap are we talking about this now? I don't know.
But I'm going to let you go do the 7K range. I got to run a quick errand here, and you start, and I'll be back.
You're going to run an errand? Okay.
No, not an errand. I'll be right back.
Okay. While Pat is doing that, actually, I will gladly talk about one of our new favorite things to do, and that is use some holistic CBD wellness. That's right, holistic CBD wellness. Incredible company. The one CBD company that I've seen that does this, right? They have their pop, pour, and stir sticks, okay? Pop, pour, and stir sticks, which are very easy. Okay, so Holistic Wellness has a CBD product that targets stress, sleeplessness, all these things that you're facing. Maybe you're on the golf course, you're stressed because your golf game sucks. Or here's a classic one. Oh, I went to the range last week. I found it on the range. I found it. And then I go out on the course and I shoot like 105. And then I can't sleep the next night because I'm thinking about it. Get you a little Holistic CBD stick and just pop that bad boy. Pour it into any beverage, stir it up, get you a good night's sleep. Or take the stress one in the middle of the golf round. You're in the middle of the golf course and your partner, Pat, maybe, for example, can't hit the ball and maybe he's like topping 3 woods and he's shanking pitching wedges and you're stressed because you paid a lot of money to play in this member guest and you really want to play well. You just, when he's not looking, you just pop and pour a little Holistic CBD stick into your water or your beer, or whatever, any liquid beverage, anything that's liquid, not a solid or gas, but just a liquid. Pop that bad boy, drink that thing, and it's amazing. So whether you need help maximizing sleep, waking up refreshed, if you want to loosen up the body a little bit, you drink it. You can drink it fast, or you can keep it in there, kind of just sip on it. Whatever you want to do. We are thrilled to have Holistic partner with us for a couple months now. They've committed. They love the TJ Nation, and they want to offer us some good stuff. They offer an array of these water-soluble CBD wellness products, and the soluble water stuff is a unique formula. This is what's important. It's a water-soluble hemp extract collected from greenhouse-grown hemp, making it very clean and trackable from seed to stick. All right, and so the water-soluble stuff and other natural ingredients in the stick let the body better identify and utilize the active ingredients and deliver faster results than oil-based stuff. It's very, very, very much faster than the oil-based stuff. So it's good stuff. You can use it for the sleep. There's a sleep, a stress, recover, a digest if you need to digest a little better, and beauty, which also men should use. Seriously, it's very good. So it's basically those 5 sub-brands separated by a couple of natural ingredients. One stick works in the moment. It's super easy to do. Just visit Holistic Wellness. That's holistic with a K, HOLISTIK, wellness.com. Enter promo code TJ25, TJ25 for 25% off your order, their products at Holistic Wellness, holistic with a K, holisticwellness.com. Really pumped to talk to those guys. Chip McDaniel, Monday qualifier, tour grinder, star in the making. Chip McDaniel discovered Holistic and absolutely loved it. And he's kind of turned us on to this. We're probably going to have Chip on the show here pretty soon, but he loves it. Works for him on the golf course. We thought, you know what? It'd probably be good for our folks too. So check it out. I know Pat's using he's already used all of his sticks, right? You don't have any sticks left. You getting some more?
I have some left. I used all of the recovery sticks because we all know that I thought recovery meant like recovering from hangovers. I didn't realize it was like recovery from, other stuff, but it works, and it works quick. So
nice. It does. Let's get into the 7K range. I'll make this is pretty quick and dirty for me. My cash play and probably my favorite tournament play is Ryan Palmer. He ranks extremely well at strokes gained approach. Birdies are better. He's chipping the ball, scrambling around the greens really nicely. Finished 8th at the Northern Trust. Hits it plenty long. Has just been playing really, really solid. Like, he's not a great putter. He's never going to be a great putter, but man, he's playing really solid. He is 5th in this field in the last 24 rounds, 5th in the field in strokes gained approach. This is a really solid field to be 5th in approach at $7,600. So I like Ryan Palmer a lot. He's 22nd in the FedEx Cup standings, looking to make maybe his first trip ever to East Lake, but definitely this first one in a long time if he's been. So, he needs a solid week, and I think he's probably as motivated as anybody out there, and I like the price at $7,600. A guy that I'm going to go back to, similar to Finau, who also ticked a lot of people off last week. In fact, about 23%, Abraham Answer. I'm going to go back to old Abe. He's not short. I mean, he's not long. That's probably one of the only knock on Abe. Not a lot of distance. He's a very wee little boy, wee little man. Okay. Very nice man. I would love to sample some of his fine tequila, but he is very small and does not generate a lot of club head speed. So it didn't hit far, but he is very accurate and checks the box there, checks the box in strokes gained approach. And, it's been playing solid. Just, miscut last week, blip on the radar, but he's a talented dude. When we talk to caddies like week in and week out, like, they repeatedly talk about how good Abraham Answer is. And I think he can come here, compete, and do really well at 7,700. I think he's going to throw a lot of people off the ownership number because of what happened last week. And then finally, a guy that I came on to late last week, and I had him in some lineups, and he did really well, Jason Kokrak. Finished 13th last week at the Northern Trust, 15th at the Wyndham before that. Man, he's checking a ton of ball striking boxes over the last 24 rounds. 8th in strokes gained off the tee, 11th in distance, 31st in strokes gained approach, 32nd in birdies or better gained in this field all over the last 24 rounds. And that's it, like $7,500 for Kokrak. With that, I mean, he was 4% owned last week. 4. He doesn't putt very well, but he putts okay on bent surfaces. Iron play last week, gained 4.5 shots last week with his irons. Really liking Kokrak. And then my fade is going to be a guy that you absolutely love to play, Pat. I'm going to fade Alex Noren. Yes, Alex Noren, because he is sustaining everything with that freaking flat stick. That is how he is doing it. In his last 3 events where he's finished 8th, 19th, and 3rd, he gained 5.2, 3.5, and 6.9 strokes putting. Can't hit his irons. Doesn't do much off the tee. Scrambles and putts his Norwegian dick off. I don't know if he's Norwegian. What is he? What is he? I don't even know. Do you know?
I still have you? Keep talking about him. And
anyway, the ball striking is terrible. The putting regression has to come at some point. Swedish. His Swedish dick off. I want to fade Alex Noren in honor of you is what I want to do. So that's the 7K range.
I only heard 2 GPP plays, or did you give one was your GPP
answer Kokrak and Palmer. Palmer cash, GPP, whatever.
All right, so I got Palmer as a cash play, but let's just go quickly here because I'm with you on Palmer. He was one of he was my cash play, but I could play him as a GPP as well. Kokrak I had also, which I was a little surprised you mentioned him, but I'm glad that we were.
He's been playing so good. He checks all the. If you run a model, he's gonna pop.
Yeah, he is. Answer was actually my fade. And here's the thing. I mean, he's just not really in great form. I mean, you look at his last few events, but other than the top 15 at the WGC in a short field event, so maybe he'll do that again this week. I don't know. It hasn't been all that great. I think there's a little something wrong with old Abe, and I'm not ready to play him again. So I will fade him at 7,700. I just think it's just there's something off with him right now. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe we could get some caddy information on him and bring that into the Nut Hut later in the week. I don't know, but I'm not a fan of Answer. I mentioned so he will be my fade. I like Noren again.
Of course you do. Yeah.
You can't look. It's like Shakira. Hips don't lie. Hips don't lie. Hips don't lie.
That is not the melody of that.
I don't know. I can't say. Form don't lie. Form don't lie. He is in good form, and I don't care what the stats say. He putts extremely well on bent. He's 7th in the field in putting on bent grass greens. So if you just want to talk about the putting in general, he checks a box there. I don't mind the price at 7,900. Again, you're right. Some of the iron play is not going to show up. Everything else, it doesn't matter. He is in good form, and he is scoring. I like Alex Noren. I will play him this week.
Noren.
So there you go. And then a guy that I just feel like this is a gut play a little bit, but he's coming off of a top 20 last week, and that is Cam Smith at 7,300.
Whoa. Wow, I did not see that coming.
I'm going to play some Cam Smith. I like him this week. He's 5th in the field in that par 4 scoring range from 450 to 500 yards out. 32nd in par 4 scoring in general. He is top 40 in strokes gained approach. I like some Cam Smith this week. I think he's a good sort of out there, going to be super low owned. He'll probably be like 2 or 3% owned. And that's what I'm trying to find this week anyway. I mean, because we could talk about the Brendan Todds and the Russell Henleys and whoever else in the 7K range that everybody else might be talking about. I'm trying to find you a different differentiator, and that's going to be Cam Smith this week at 7,300.
So let's make a bet on Noren.
Okay.
Where do you think he finishes?
I bet he finishes in the. I mean, let's just look at his last 3 events: T3, T19, T8. Okay, I bet he finishes T20. I bet T20, T20 or better.
Great. I love that bet. I will take the over there. So T20 or better, you win. T21 or worse, I win. And the loser has to prank call Eastlake next week and try to set up a tee time to play during the FedEx Cup finals and act like you have no idea why that can't happen. And you have to video it.
Yeah.
You have to video it.
Yeah. I like that.
Prank call Eastlake.
Okay.
Alex Noren is what it's about.
That's a good one.
I feel good about that. I have lost every prop bet.
You've lost every single bet
since before the pandemic hit. Yeah, the last time I won a prop bet, no one had even heard of a you couldn't even spell pandemic. The last time I won a prop bet, but I feel good about this one.
Okay,
gotta feel good about this one. All right, 6K. I got 4 guys. I'm going back to the well with Brendan Steele. Like the way he's playing, like the way he's striking the ball right now. He's a scorer when he's hot. He's 45th in the FedEx Cup rankings, kind of right on that little bubble if you wanna look at that. 16th in the field in strokes gained approach over the last 24 rounds. I like Brendan Steele. I like your boy Dylan Fratelli, who we've had on this podcast before. He's actually playing pretty good, and I was actually surprised to see how he ranks in a couple of things. Birdies are better. He's 34th in the field over the last 24 rounds. So that surprised me a little bit. I didn't think he was that kind of a scorer. I mean, I know he's been finishing well outside of the missed cut last week at the Northern Trust, but I like his off the tee game. He's very accurate, decent length. Not super long, not super short. He's kind of like a South African Abe Answer, except maybe in better form. So I like Dylan Fratelli. I don't know how you don't like Joel Damon. I mean, I know everybody's like rolling their eyes because that's our boy, but at that price, at 6,500, he's 41st in the FedEx Cup points, trying to get to his first ever Eastlake trip. Plays well on tough golf courses or tougher golf courses, long and accurate off the tee that, you don't necessarily have to hit it 100,000 yards. I think suits well for Joel. So I'm going to go with Joel. And then a guy that does hit it pretty far off the tee and just popped a little bit of form just this last week, and it's 6,300 in a no-cut event. Danny Lee interests me a little bit. Mm-hmm. I haven't played Danny Lee in a long time, but when you look at his form, he's very consistent. But Danny Lee pops, and when he gets hot, and he's won on the PGA Tour before, people. Like, he's won. But he's 17th in this field in driving distance, 17th in this field in birdie or better over the last 24 rounds, 18th place finish at the Northern Trust. I think Danny Lee's interesting at 6,300. If you don't have to deal with a no cut, you have some upside there with Danny Lee. So Brendan Steele, Fratelli, Damon, and Lee for me.
I don't mind the Danny Lee call. I think that's definitely a bold one, and he surprises me with his distance because he can hit it out there. He's got some.
Yeah,
distance.
He can move it.
All right, I'll start here with I like Brian Harmon up at the top at 6,900. I think he's a good play this week. Look, he's not going to strike your fancy when it comes to the distance all that much, but we talked about being able to hit fairways in the right spots and sort of and give yourself a good look at these greens and be able to attack them from the right areas. He's definitely accurate off the tee. I do like that. He's coming off of a T11 finish last week. I think Harmon could be a good play. I think he's certainly going to be low owned. Nobody's going to want to play Brian Harmon. They're going to automatically, they just think Brian Harmon, short guy, short knocker, whatever else. I'm not buying it this week. So I'm a fan of Harmon. He is also first, by the way, in scrambling, which I do think is kind of an outlier for me. We haven't even mentioned that hardly that much, but these are pretty small greens this week. So these guys are going to miss them. And so the fact that he's first in scrambling kind of pops a little bit for me. And he's also checking the box in par 4 scoring as well. So I like Harmon at 6,900. And I like Taylor Gooch at 6,600, a guy that I came on sort of late last week.
Love Gooch. I always love Gooch.
Yeah, sounds across
weird.
the board.
I always like Taylor Gooch.
Checking the box and approach. He's third in the field in par 4 scoring from 450 to 500 yards. Obviously, he's been in pretty good form. I mean, let's look at his last few events. He was T18 last week, T25 at the Wyndham, missed the cut at the PGA, but then had a top 20 finish at the 3M Open. So, I mean, he's been playing well lately. So I am a fan of Gooch. He will be my other GPP in this range, GPP play in this range. Outside of that, I don't know. We'll see. Hit us up in the Nut Hut chat for some of these 6K guys. We always, the people in the chat, which I love everybody in the chat. Love you all. They want to hear some 6K guys. So we're going to bring that in the Hut.
Yeah, for sure.